This meeting is being recorded.
So, Dhammanupassana is part of Satipatthana. And Satipatthana comes from the word Satipatthana. Sati, the Pali word Sati means mindful, and Upatthana is introspection. So mindful introspection is what it means. Today I was conducting a similar program in the morning at a temple far away in Meegoda, that is off Homagama. And I was telling there about more than 100 people there for Poya. They had observed Sil. So what I was telling them is, had the Buddha spoken in Sinhala as a language, it would have been probably much easier for us to understand what he was trying to say. The language he used is Magadha or Pali. And in the last 600, 700 years, the translations have given us a bit of an overdose. So what you see right now is an overdose of Dhamma, which is probably good for studious venerable theros who like to go into deep analysis. But for general laymen like us, who hardly have time to meditate on a good day, the less we know, the better. And that is what Venerable Ajahn Chah always used to say. And as my father, my first teacher too is Venerable Konanya Thero. We fondly called him as Loku Hamduro. He was the chief monk at our temple. He would tell us, Anapanasati can take you a long way because it builds your awareness so that you can see what is really going on at a finer level. The problem is we see what is going on at quite a coarse level. So slowing down and observing is important. Venerable Ajahn Brahmansha gives a good example on this. He, in one of his many wonderful talks, he refers to one day coming back from an almsgiving, how it was a nice spring or summer day, and he wanted to walk up the little hillock where his monastery is, instead of getting the ride up in the car. So he got down at the foot of the hill and he walked up. And he said for years he was driven past that little road. And the first time he saw how many tiny flowers were there by the roadside on the grass. The speed at which a car travels, obviously, you don't see that. But the walking speed, you see much more. And then he said, I stopped. But we generally say stop and smell the roses. I stopped to see, and I saw even clearly. And this is what the Buddha and all venerable monks tell us, to slow down and to stop. Then only you can observe at a very fine level what is really going on. So meditation, samatha, is helpful to stop, to slow down and stop. And then at fine concentrated levels, when you investigate, you will see exactly what Gautama Buddha saw when he sat alone on that dark night at the bo tree and got enlightened. And the way the Buddha put it across, it was not meant to be a rocket science. It was quite straightforward and simple, which, being a master teacher that he is, put it across in ways that a child could understand. Farmers, he told it from farming context. To housewives, he explained from a kitchen context. For kings, he explained from their context. And for 45 years, he explained it in very different ways, but he was more or less saying the same thing. So now what we have is all of it is now available on your pen drive, on the internet, in Dhamma talks. So what we have is an overdose. Now he never intended one person to consume it all, because if he did, he would have clearly structured it into a syllabus and given to it section by section, part by part. But now we are getting it in that form and we are getting lost in it. So some venerable monks help us to come to the surface and to pinpoint on some simple things that will help us in this path. And this is probably an era where there is a, a refreshing, a relaunching, something of the Dhamma is happening. There's a saying that this is the turn of the tide before the Dhamma starts to erode. Perhaps it is, but certainly as a child, when I was looking for answers, as a youth, even in my middle age, there were things that I didn't come across, which is now coming across in various talks by venerable sanghas. And all of them have one thing in common. They learned Pali. They were curious and they believed that what is available in books is not exactly what the Buddha said. They believed there's an overdose. They wanted to know what is exactly the Buddha's word that will be useful for us. There were many things that was useful. What is the words, the few words that will be useful for us in this journey to enlightenment? And those few words, they took great effort to learn Pali. Some of them went even further to understand psychology, physiology, and many other studies to make sense of it. And they have presented it to us, and we are so fortunate. So this is what I have understood from it. And it's so simple, it makes so much sense. I have now come to learn that if something is simple and it makes sense, it must be what the Buddha told. If something is complicated and difficult to understand, probably the Buddha didn't say it or somebody has misinterpreted it. Enlightenment is all about understanding, really understanding the three characteristics of life. Everything in life has these three characteristics, and we know this from small age, at least if you studied Buddhism, like most of us do here in Sri Lanka. That is Anitya, Dukkha, Anatma in Pali, impermanence. Suffering is the word used, but many prefer unsatisfactory nature of life instead of suffering, and non-self, Anatma. So the starting point is always to ask yourself, what do I know about these things? Most of us have lived life long enough to know what Anitya is from a long-term point of view, impermanence. We have passed our baby age, childhood, youth, and come to a stage in life where we are very clear that over a long period of time, things change and we don't like it. That is very clear. What else do we know? So we also know that this non-self, it's all about there is no one controlling, certainly not in my control. If things were in my control, I shouldn't fall sick at extremely inappropriate moments. All moments are inappropriate to fall sick. I wouldn't grow old. Having to wear glasses was quite a bummer. And if I had any control, I wouldn't have let my eyes grow old. As we grow old, there are many other disadvantages. And then, without any permission, the body just ceases to function one day and you are dead. And that is definitely not how things would end if things were in our control. So I think most of us get this, that there is a program in our DNA. From the time we were born, that program is running. We can optimize it. We can destruct it. We can bring it to a complete end if we want to. But there's one thing we can't do. We can't change it. The program will run unless you are self-destructive and you end it prematurely. So that level of understanding of non-self, we all have. The combination is not a satisfactory situation, is it? Long-term, things are changing. That change is not in my control. And that combination is not a satisfactory situation. So if you really ask yourself, you do understand impermanence, unsatisfactory nature of life, and non-self. Then one of the two must be true. If you do understand these three things, you are enlightened or you are not. So there is a way to check whether you are enlightened, just in case, just in case you are, we can congratulate you. How do you check whether you are an enlightened being or not? So non-enlightened beings have three roots that govern everything, which we call lobha, dvesha, moha. So lobha, again, a Pali word, refers to everything that you desire, you like, things I like. That is lobha. Dvesha refers to everything, all aversion, irritations, frustrations, small angers, large angers, losing your temper, getting mad, all of it. In short, things I don't like. And what is moha? Why are you having things you like and things you don't like? Because there's an I, and that is moha. The delusion of a concept called me, myself, I. As long as that delusion is there, I am there, I exist, and there are things I like, and there are things I don't like. So it starts with moha, and where there is moha, there is lobha and there is dvesha. So whenever you have a doubt, whenever you have a very good meditation session, you see some lights, and you think, wow, did I get enlightened? Maybe you did. I don't know. Haven't experienced it yet. This is your yardstick to check whether you are enlightened. Are there things I desire? Are there things I dislike? Is it coming from quite a well felt, recognized process, thought process around me, myself? If the answer is yes, even to a decimal point, it's a yes, then there's still some work to be done. In the 4 stages of enlightenment, the part of an ego, which is the what we call mane, that part, what is it called? It's about the great conceited pride we have in ourselves about me as a person, my achievements, my background, my education, wealth, status, role in life, title, at work, in life, everything. It gives us a feeling of superiority over others. Every human has this, more or less. That is what starts everything else. So, if we have understood the three characteristics of life and we are not enlightened, what are we missing? We must be missing something. So, what we are missing is what the Buddha was referring to was not in the long term. He was referring to everything in the Four Noble Truths. He was referring to right now, in this moment. A split second. In Sinhalese, it is called Asuru Gasana Sanaki, a split second. Now, this could be, it's more than 1/10 of a second. It's more than 1/100th of a second, 1,000 of a second, 100,000 of a second. It's even smaller. And this is why we miss this point, because it's too fine. So, when he spoke about impermanence, he was referring to impermanence now. When he was talking of non-self, he was referring to it happening right now. And the unsatisfactory nature was referring to now. And the starting to look at it is where this introspection comes in. Looking at what is going on now inside the body, inside the mind, is Sati Patthana. And of course, he described 4 ways of doing it. So Satara Sati Patthana. So looking at what's happening in the body, Kayanupassana, what's happening to the feelings, Vedananupassana, how our emotions and moods are changing, Chittanupassana, why is it happening, is Dhammanupassana. Understanding why all this is happening is Dhammanupassana. And all 4 is required for the introspection. So, where do we start? The starting point is always from where we know. It all starts with how we experience the world. We experience the world, every human being, whether you are a king or a pauper on the street, you experience the world in this one manner, through 6 sense doors. Your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. That is 6. The 6 sense doors have 6 sense objects. The eye can see visual objects. The ear can hear sound objects. The nose can smell delightful or unpleasant smell objects. The tongue can taste up to 6 or 7 various taste objects, what we call sour, salty, spicy, sweet, what else? Bitter, and so on. The body can feel the touch sensation, the touch of the wind, the breeze, the touch of a mosquito who bites, the touch of a fly, and the fly lands on your face when you're meditating. Even the little ache in the body when you're seated to meditate, it's all the touch that the body feels. And the mind, the 6th sense door is the mind. What are the objects? It has thoughts, moods, emotions. So 6 sense doors, 6 objects. Now, let us take one just for ease of explanation. Your eye and a visual object. Just because you have an eye that is healthy, can see, and there is a visual object which is reflecting light, that doesn't mean you are seeing. In order to see, you need your mind's attention. Your mind's attention is required for the eye sense door and the visual object to meet. This is why many a times in your life you would have walked past somebody, whether at school or office or somewhere at a gathering, and the person says, "Oh my, how come you are going by without saying hi?" And then you'll be like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't see you, I'm so sorry." And the person will be like, "How can you not see me? I was right in front of you." But we didn't see the person. Why? Because we were preoccupied. When your mind is preoccupied, even if your eye is perfectly functioning and there's a visual object right in front of you, without your mind's attention, you don't see it. So this is also why, let's say somebody whacked you, hopefully not, somebody whacked you with something on your head and you fell unconscious, your eye is working, there are visual objects, but your mind is not working. It's temporarily unconscious. Without your mind's attention, you cannot see. So the healthy eye and visual object alone is not enough. You need your mind's attention. Same for everything else. There'll be your ear, there'll be sound, but you won't hear. If you are concentrated on something else, you are so engrossed in something else, you didn't hear. Best example is when you are having your dinner, watching a movie. Sometimes you are finished eating and you wonder, what did I eat just now? Because you are so engrossed in the movie. So the mind can focus the attention only on one thing at a time. So then how do you explain watching a movie? Because there's visual objects and sound objects. So imagine you are watching a movie while eating. How many things at play? Visual objects, sound objects, taste objects. And if you're sitting in a comfortable sofa, having the fan on, so many more objects. But after a point, your attention just focuses on one thing and everything else gets blurred into the background and you don't even notice. So as far as the movie is concerned, what happens is for 1/100th of a second, you focus your attention on the visual object. The next couple of hundredths of a second, you focus on the sound objects. Then for a couple of hundredths of a second, you again focus on the visual object. By the time you get to 1 complete second, you have done this multiple times at such a speed that it looks like for you that you are hearing and seeing at the same time. And in that 1/100th of a second, if you also notice the taste, you are watching, hearing, and eating at the same time, even though you are not. It just appears to be that way. So this is how when we were kids, most of us, we would listen to music while doing our homework. Management concepts were written on multitasking, but now they have realized that it's not possible. You are just being highly unproductive by trying to do many things at the same time. Human beings were meant to operate focusing on one thing at a time. That's when you're at your best. So what is happening? You have your 6 sense doors and 6 sense objects. Whenever your attention connects, for each sense door, there arises a sense consciousness. When the eye meets a visual object, eye consciousness arises. Sorry, when there's attention to it as well, eye consciousness arises. In Pali, this is called Chakku Vinyana. So Vinyana means knowing, Dhanagana. You know that you are seeing. Vinyana means to know. You know that you are seeing. Right now, you know that you are hearing because the ear door is connecting with a sound object and you are paying attention. As a result, ear consciousness arises, Sota Vinyana, and you know that you are hearing. If there was something fragrant, some smell, your nose picks it up because your attention went there. There arises nose consciousness, if there is such a thing. Certainly in Pali, it is called Kahana Vinyana. So I suppose we are allowed to call it nose consciousness. Then when you are eating, many of you, if you all are foodies, you know when there is too much salt, too little salt, too much spice, too little spice, too sweet, not sweet enough. That is when your tongue sense door is connecting with a taste object and you have paid attention to it, and there arises Jivha Vinyana, tongue consciousness. You know that you are tasting something. Similarly, the body sense door connects with a touch object, let's say the fan, and you pay attention to the soft breeze that's hitting your body, and there arises Kaya Vinyana, body consciousness. You know that your body is feeling something. And in the mind, sometimes when you have nothing to do, thoughts come, various thoughts. Sometimes when you just look into your mind, you'll notice that it's in a mood, sometimes a happy mood, sometimes a grumpy mood. So when the mind is aware of a mental object through attention, there arises mind consciousness, Manovinyana. So this is the starting point. So the Buddha said there are 6 sense doors: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. There are 6 sense objects: visual object, sound object, smell object, taste object, touch object, and some mind object. And when a door connects with an object, there arises a consciousness. And those are also 6. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness, smell, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, and mind consciousness. Chakku Vinyana, Sota Vinyana, Ghana Vinyana, Jivha Vinyana, Kaya Vinyana, Mano Vinyana. Now, when a sense door and a sense object meet through attention and the consciousness arises, in your mind forms a rupa. So if you think of the Panchaskandha, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vinyana, a rupa gets formed. So let us look at this in a simple way. You have your eye and some visual object comes in front of your eye. Let's say it's a flower, and you put your attention to it. there arises eye consciousness. What you see is, what falls on the eye is light, 7 colors. There must be definitely more colors than 7 colors, but our human scope is limited to 7 colors. And then the optical nerve carries that color as electromagnetic data to the brain. And in the brain, a picture is formed. That is what the Buddha referred to as rupa. It's in your brain, it's in your mind that it gets formed. So this is, because it's a visual thing, it's a rupa, visual rupa. Similarly, you have your ear sense door. There is a sound object, let's say a doggy. Doggy is barking, woof, woof. And you put your mind's attention to it. There arises ear consciousness. What happens? The eardrum is reverberating. There are electromagnetic data that is getting picked up by the, what nerve then? Like the optical nerve, some sound nerve. Takes the data to the brain. And the sound rupa. Earlier it was a visual rupa, now a sound rupa is formed. In the mind, in the brain. Sound. Similarly, the nose, pick up a smell, some nice smell, something's cooking, nice smell, fragrant, aroma. How did that happen? There is the nose, there is a smell object. Your attention went to it. Nose consciousness arose. What the nose caught from those fine little hairs in the nose, it was some kind of an aroma that got into some electromagnetic, whatever, data, went from some nerve to the brain, and a smell got created. So forth. Eye and visual object, eye consciousness created a visual rupa. The ear, a sound, and the ear consciousness created a sound rupa. Nose, a smell, nose consciousness together created a smell rupa. Tongue, a taste, tongue consciousness created a taste related rupa. Body, some touch sensation. And the kaya vinyana, the body consciousness created a touch related rupa. And the mind, some thought, some mood, some emotion, attention came, and the mind consciousness created a mind rupa. So in the rupa vedana sanya sankara vinyana, rupa is what got created in the brain, in the mind. Why I refer to the brain is all these sense doors are in the body. So we know where the eye is because we can touch it, we can feel it, we can see it. We know where the ear is. Again, can touch, can feel, can see. We know where the nose is. We know where the tongue is. We can see the body. Now, where on earth is the mind? So we know that if the brain stops functioning, the mind doesn't work. As we grow old and very old, the brain cells die, and then the mind cannot think as clearly as it did before. So the mind functions, functionality of the mind in the brain. So all these nerves and everything, all this needs the brain. So all the sense doors are in the body. All the sense objects are outside. The visual object, the sound object, smell object, taste object, touch object. Even the thoughts, they come from outside. Everything is outside. The sense door is in the body. The sense objects are outside. When a sense door and a sense object meet and your mind's attention is there, the sense consciousness arises and a rupa is formed. And that is the first part of the Panchaskandha, rupa. So when a rupa is formed, what happens? This is all a mind game, okay? Now, one big mistake that happened when we were studying this for O-level, and even now in even the Dhamma school textbooks, it's written as a physical thing, rupa, body. But actually, what was being referred to was a sense door, a sense object, mind's attention, sense consciousness arises, and a rupa is formed. It's in the mind. Everything we experience, it's in the mind. So this rupa gets formed, and then immediately, within a split second, I would call it smaller than 100,000 of a second, a Vedana arises. Vedana arises because a rupa was formed. What is this Vedana? It is usually, it's always at the beginning, neutral until it is recognized. Who recognizes it? The sanya. Sanya is the one who recognizes what is this rupa. Until it gets recognized, the Vedana is new. Now, locally, we use the word Vedana, refer to Dukkha Vedana. But actually in Pali, Vedana is a neutral term. Vedana, when it is pleasant, is Sukha Vedana, pleasant feelings. Vedana, when it is unpleasant, it is Dukkha Vedana. And when it is neutral, the Buddha referred to it as Adukkhama Sukha, neutral. So when the rupa gets formed, initially it's neutral feeling. But within the next split second, 100th of a second or 100,000 of a second, the rupa gets recognized through the sanya. Now, the easiest way to think of sanya is like a filing cabinet. Every experience since the time you were born up to now is recorded in various files and put into a nice filing system in your brain. So your brain is like a supercomputer. So we use these files to recognize things. These files have a lot of information. So let's say your eye saw a visual object, a flower, and there arose eye consciousness. The data got carried by the optical nerve, and a rupa was formed, and a neutral Vedana came, Adukkhama Sukha. And now the brain is shifting through the files and finds the file related to this flower, pulls it out. Ah, this is a sunflower. Now, what is written in that file is very unique to each person. So I don't know what you think about a sunflower. I'm kind of okay with sunflowers. Not a big fan, but it looks pretty, but it doesn't smell nice. So I am kind of average liking towards it. So all that is there in the file. It looks pretty, but it doesn't smell nice. So I kind of like it. It's kind of cute. And then what happens? The Vedana now changes to suit the recognition. So in this case, it's a Sukha Vedana, kind of like it. Small Sukha Vedana. If it was a rose, for some reason, I think people make too much fuss about roses. I'm not a big fan of roses. And that is what will be in my file. Not a big fan. I don't know whether that is neutral or whether that is borderline or minor. Dukkha. Probably a dukkha. I just think about all the fuss people make over roses. And in Sri Lanka, it's very hard to grow the thing also. When I see all the trouble and effort people take, I'm like, why? Why don't you grow something that just grows without all this trouble? Yeah, so probably my file has dukkha in it. So Araliya, for example, I love Araliya. It has a nice fragrance. It's white. There's a bit of yellow in it. It looks beautiful when it is fallen on a grass lawn. So the Araliya file will have all of these things. So you see, it's very person specific. And as per that, your Vedana will depend on what is in your file. Now, what happens next? So Rupa, Vedana, Sanya. Then comes the Sankara. That is when you start forming formations, mental formations. You're forming your karma. Your mind, your words, your actions start forming in line with the Vedana coming from the Sanya. So for example, sunflower, kind of like it. So that's the thought. The thought is like, yeah, shrug your shoulders, move on, nothing here. If it is a rose, it will be like, oh God, because usually somebody around me will go like, oh my God, I want that rose. I want that. I want to plant it. And I'll be like, I'll be rolling my eyes. Here we go again. Those are reactions to an external stimulus. Now see, your eye captured light. Your eye has no idea that it's seeing a rose. The name rose was given by society. We have learned it as a child. And that too, I learned it in Sinhala and in English. If a Japanese came and called it something, I wouldn't know what he is talking about. It's all in the file. And some dislike to it, whatever the reason. And then I react according to what is on the file. So this is why a monk once said, you are eating stale food. Because it's not something based on happening right now. This is all based on history. The past, it's gone. So the Sankara is thoughts come, words form, actions form, and you react. Now, if you take something a little bit more extreme than a flower, like a human being, somebody I like, what happens? I always pick on Samudra. I like Samudra. I say Samudra, the mind forms, I need to go and talk to Samudra. And then the words will come, hey Samudra, how are you? And then the body will also give her a pat, a hug, depends. And then if it is somebody I don't like, what will I do? The thought arises, oh my God. Words will form. Probably words will not form. Action will be try to hide, disappear, fade away, try not to make contact. It's all reactive. Very, very reactive. So this is how karma forms. All of these things lead to karma, and that leads to bhava. So what is the difference between us and an enlightened being? That is interesting. Where is the difference? So when it comes to the six sense doors, no difference. I have it, enlightened being has it. When it comes to sense objects, no difference. It's all outside, external for him and for me. Excuse the gender bias here. For her, let's talk of a lady Rahatan Mahan. Anyway, the sense consciousness, no difference. Rupa forms, no difference. Vedana, initial Vedana is adukkhama sukha, neutral, no difference. The difference starts with the sanya, the recognition, what is on the file. the stale food. That is where the difference starts. In my filing cabinet, there's a million files. Imagine, I didn't realize that such distinction for flowers, unbelievable. Imagine the distinction we have for people. People are much more complex than flowers, right? Scary. Millions of files for the millions of emotions we have about a million of things. What does the Rahatan Vahanse have in the filing cabinet? A, there's no cabinet. There's only one file. In that file, there's only one piece of paper. And that piece of paper has just 3 words. Everything is seen as, recognized as, anitya, dukkha, anatta. When something is recognized as impermanent, non-self, and non-satisfactory, what is the Vedana that comes as a result? It is still adukkha sukha. The Vedana is neutral. And if the Vedana is neutral, what is the Sankhara? Nothing. Nothing to think, nothing to say, nothing to do in reaction. When there's nothing to form, no mental formations, where is the karma? No karma. If there's no karma, where is the bhava? No bhava. All because the sanya has anitya, dukkha, anatta. Everything in the world is seen for what it is. Everything in the world has only 3 characteristics. The enlightened being sees only those. There's really nothing to get excited in a happy way. There's really nothing to get excited in an unhappy way. Because this moment is just passing. It's already passed by the time your sense door captures it. By the time it's processed by your brain, it's already passed, it's gone. You are processing something in the past. So what's the big deal? What I see, I just see. It's just light. What I hear, I just hear. It's just sound. So the Buddha said, Dutude, Dutuva Pamanai. What you see is just what you see. It's just light. Asunade, Asuna Pamanai. What you are hearing is just sound. Nothing else to it. Where does all the drama come? It comes from our pratyajna state of mind where we don't recognize reality for reality. And we have a filing cabinet with lots of files. Based on our past experiences, we have formed a like or dislike to everything. Where is that like and dislike coming from? It's coming from a sense of I, me, myself. Every external sense object, every external sense experience, we have formed a liking or a disliking based on a non-existing entity called me, myself, and I. And therefore, the Buddha said, with the root moha, delusion, comes desire, lobha, and aversion, dvesha. Because there is I, there are things I like, and there are things I dislike. So the Panchaskandha for a Rahatan Vahanse is Panchaskandha. For a Pratyajna like us, a non-enlightened being, it is a Pancha Upadana Skandha. How does this Upadana happen? That is also quite simple. You think of, let us use Samudra again. If I did. So my eye sees a visual object, Samudra, and then what happens? Initially, it is a neutral sensation, adukkha vedana, and then comes Sukha Vedana, because I like the person, it's in the file. And then comes the reaction of talking to her, giving her a hug, and all of that. And then Samudra says, hey, I just came to say hi, I got to run, I'll talk to you later. And she goes away. Now, she is not in my visual horizon anymore. So the sense door is there, but the sense object is not there anymore. But what happens? I continue to think about her. Oh, nice girl, good friend, very helpful. What's going on here? That is what Upadana is all about. The sense object is no longer there, but you are clinging onto it even after it is gone. And this whole Panchaskandha, that is how we experience things, by clinging. We can cling with liking, we can cling with dislike. So the Buddha said, you need to first understand what is going on here. Your sense doors are capturing external sense objects. By the time you realize you are seeing something or you are hearing something, that moment has already passed, because it happened so fast. And the next moment has come, and the next, and the next. Many moments have passed before you realize what is going on. And then you recognize it based on a non-existing concept called I. You have already formed an opinion that you like some things and you dislike some things. Based on that, you cling either way, with liking or disliking. That is what is happening. And the almost magical, amazing thing about this is, once you start to observe this process stops. This process can happen only when you are ignorant about it. The moment you start gaining insight about this process, observing the process starts to reverse, to fade away, to eliminate. And you start really seeing how unvaluable it is to get attached to things that are so fleeting. How unimportant it is to get annoyed with things that has already changed by the time you're experiencing, which is already gone. That moment is gone, another moment has taken place. Anitya, impermanence, is happening at a speed that we cannot comprehend through our normal senses. But we can understand and gain deep insights when we get into introspection, when we slow down and we start observing. We see how moods change based on external stimulus. Just observe. Even though we cannot observe at the speed in which it's happening, we can observe how much our moods change based on external stimulus. So for example, when you're having a cup of tea or drinking something today, eating something, just take one gulp and pause. After the gulp, let's say you're having a nice cup of tea. After you drink the tea, you pause. Now, the sense door is your tongue. The sense object is the tea. It's no more there now. You have swallowed it. Now observe what's happening. While the taste was there, you would be like, so nice, yummy, yummy, yummy. Very nice. Once it is swallowed, observe the great desire. Every fiber in your body asking you to take the next sip. That is Upadana. It's beautiful to watch. how strong it is. That's all we need to do. Just observe. All our life, this has been happening. And now we know. And now we start to observe. And in that observation, over a period of time, the gradual realization will come as to how fleeting this is. And there arises dispassion. It has to arise. It cannot be jump-started. It cannot be forced. It has to arise. It's something like you can't hurry up and let go. Letting go has to happen naturally. Because if you're trying to let go, you are only cementing the concept I. I is a doer. That's why we are always doing something. And we hate to see someone doing nothing. We think there's something wrong with them if they're doing nothing. Because we are so doers. This doing is what cements the concept I, because we feel we are in control. But to just observe how an automatic process is taking place. A sense door, a sense object, attention, voila, sense consciousness. There arises rupa. I know I can see, I know I can hear, I know I can taste, I know I can smell, I know I can feel, I know I'm thinking, I'm feeling. The neutral Vedana, too fast to comprehend. You'll probably miss it. And then the recognition, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm tasting. So think of something very simple. Think of what you ate today. Did you like it? Was the salt enough? Was the spice enough? Was the chili enough? Was this enough? Was that enough? Or was it not enough? Recognition. Do I like it? Do I not like it? If I like it, I want more. If I don't like it, I want to get rid of it. Formations. Wanting more. A formation, a reaction. Wanting to get rid of a formation, a reaction. Just observe. Just observe. Don't try to change it. Don't try to interfere. If you're trying to interfere, then you're cementing I there. It's a process. Just observe. Observe what is naturally happening. Through that observation, dispassion will naturally arise, and let it arise. All we need to do is observe. And that is why Venerable Ajahn Chah said, sit down and observe. And when I read it the first time, I was like, observe. Observe what? That's the instruction. Just observe. So Panchaskandha is the fundamental thing that the Buddha told. To observe how the Panchaskandha becomes a Pancha Upadanaskandha. Once you start to observe this is a lot of fun actually. You can see throughout your life, every day, every hour, what a lot is going on. The thing is this, now if you are working Monday to Friday, it's very hard to observe this because we are running all the time. But if you have time, you can set aside time to sit down and do nothing. Then you can observe it. As you improve your practice, you can observe it on the go, on the run. And that is why the Buddha said, Satara Satipatthana, this needs to be practiced. Say it in Sinhala first. Yanakota, Enakota, Hanakota, Bonakota. Vesikili, Kesikili Pava, Yanavid. While coming, while going, while eating, while drinking, while in the toilet, in the bathroom, you can practice this because it is introspection. Being mindful about your body and the mind from inside. That is what the Dhammanupassana is all about. Now, since Dr. Manouri requested, I'll briefly tell you about the Panchanivarnas. I know it's an overdose, I'm sorry, but for most of you seasoned meditators, it is not. For some of you, if it is, you can do a bit of a practice and come back to this Varana. Maybe we should do that even for 10 minutes. Let's just do that. Otherwise, it's always important to practice what you hear. So let us take the body, for example, because we started at 1 o'clock, now it is 4 o'clock. For 3 hours, more or less, you are sitting down. Your body was not meant to sit down for so long. So your body must be having lots of complaints now. If you now sit back and close your eyes, let us do that. Sit back comfortably. Close your eyes just for 10 minutes. And just observe what is going on in your body. How does it feel? Observe the head. How does the head feel? Upper body, lower body, especially where you're sitting. Knees. If you're sitting on the floor, I'm sure your knees have a lot to tell you now. Legs, feet. From the feet, go up the legs, knees, lower body, where you're sitting, upper body, neck, head. Just gently go, scanning your body, top to toe, toe to top, and see what's going on. If you feel an ache or pain somewhere, just observe. Observe. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Is it an intense dislike? Mild dislike? Just observe. Can you feel the fan on your body? Can you feel the fabric on your body, the cloth you are wearing? Can you feel your weight on how you are sitting? Is it weighing down now? Is it uncomfortable? Is the knee hurting? Is the leg numb? If you're sitting on a chair, is your feet touching the floor? How does your feet feel? You feel the texture of the floor? Is it a tile? Is it a carpet? Are you wearing shoes? Are you barefooted? Just observe. Whatever it is, when you notice a touch sensation, just observe whether you like it or do you dislike it at a very subtle level. Very subtle. Keep the alarm for just a few minutes. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that was a short 5 minutes of practice you got. Dr. Manouri, I think we should open for questions. No? So I know I went into quite a simplified detail. So sorry, it took a bit longer than expected, but I think for beginners, I know there are very seasoned meditators here, but for beginners, we need to do it in a simplified, long way, I believe. So
Thank you very much, Nadeesha, for taking us through that and into that non-judgmental observation, which is so vital in sati, mindfulness, bedrock of it. Thank you very much. I think it will be overloading if we go in anymore, don't you think?
yes.
Because we have had 2 other different types of meditation also, having practiced also, and now this you gave us some opportunity. So I feel we can. Any questions, any comments, please? I'm sure Nadeesha would like to see everybody. And some only one person is iPad Pro. I think I can guess who that is. But can we see and hear from you, please? We have Nadeesha. Yes, Kolitha is about to. That's
one comment, first of all. Sorry.
Go on.
Can I?
Can hear. Go on.
Yeah, just one comment. Actually, at the very outset, I have to thank Nadeesha and Professor Raja for that, very nicely conducted guided meditation. And then subsequently, your brilliant disposition of these Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and all that issues. And I also take this opportunity to thank Manouri, Samudra, and all the others who were involved in organizing this program, which made it all possible for all of us from so many different areas to join and really benefit from this very extensive but very clear presentation and this program. Now, let me share with you one experience I had during this meditation session, if I may be permitted to do so. Can I, Manouri?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, of course, go ahead.
Actually, when Nadeesha was doing this metta meditation, you were conducting the metta meditation. Precisely at that time, there was a huge cacophony. Lot of monkeys dancing on the roof exactly where I was seated. And here you were telling us to convey metta to others, extending right up to the end of the universe. So I thought, okay, this must be to test myself. I put myself into a test. Let me see how I can conduct metta. So I forgot about the rest of the people, my friends and relations and all unseen beings in the other end of the universe. All my metta was conveyed towards these monkeys. My initial impulse was getting irritated. Why did these monkeys have to come at a time when we were engaged in a meditation program? So conveyed metta only to those monkeys. And I don't know how it happened. The noise just stopped. It didn't take even 2 minutes. All the noises stopped. And then I was able to continue with the metta meditation and subsequently with this Anapana meditation also under the guidance of Professor Raja. And then during this 15-minute break, I went out to see why this no noise. All the monkeys are still there. Big, they're full family. The kids, some fellows being carried away, is carried on the belly. Small fellows jumping from the trees. All they are just feeding on some tender leaves from the belly tree, but not making any noise. And still they are quiet. I don't know whether they are still there or whether they have gone back to their abodes in some other places. So that's just to share some experience. And then if I may be permitted just to ask a question also on this latter part of your talk. That was a brilliant talk, I must say. But the question I want to raise is, what exactly did the Buddha teach regarding the consciousness? Now, in relation to a sense experience, where does the consciousness arise? Is it in the sense organ or is it in the brain? Now, say, for instance, if you take the visual sensation, this chakku viññāna or the eye consciousness, does it arise in the retina or is it in the visual center in the brain? According to the teachings of the Buddha, we have different people I've heard saying different things. Some are the opinion that this chakku viññāna arises in the retina. Now, according to you, chakku viññāna is in the brain. So that is the physical-chemical part. Once the brain retina is activated, there's a physical-chemical process, optic nerve, and a certain region of the brain is activated. Now, is that the place where the consciousness arises? Is that what is called the chakku viññāna? And then what is this viññāna which we are supposed to carry from all our experiences in the past? You know, not just one birth, all our experiences in all our births is supposed to be carried in our viññāna. And that is how the external stimulus triggers off the sort of reaction that comes with the sense experience. If you can clarify that, please, Nadeesha. Thank you.
Can I please, before Nadeesha answers that, can I just add another question to that, but this time directed to Professor Kolitha after he gets the answer. What does it matter to you whether this viññāna is in the retina or in the occipital lobe or where? How will it affect your journey to Nibbana? That's my question. Can we have the first answer from Nadeesha? I mean, exactly where this is structurally. Nadeesha, then can you answer the question posed to you?
So I know enough to not answer a question from a doctor, right? Because honestly, my answer is I have no idea. And how I go about these things is many venerable theros have told us, start from what you know, right? So what I know is very little. And then start building it towards higher knowledge areas. So Professor Kolitha, you're asking an excellent question. The sutra may have an answer. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. What I do with this process, this awareness of this process is, especially when there's an agitation in my mind, I just remember this process and I just momentarily think, what is the external stimulus that caused this agitation in my mind? So usually it is my dearly beloved X, Y, Z, or the other. The alphabet is also not enough for the dearly beloveds in our lives, right? Whether it's at home or in office and so on. So something they said or something they did irritated me. And then I just think, you know, it's just this moment, it's just a sound, it's just light. And I also think that this dearly beloved might be gone tomorrow, and I'd rather have them in this irritating manner than dead and gone. So those little things help me to be grounded in the present moment. And I immediately, the irritation just dissolves when I realize that they can die, I can die, and whatever I'm about to start a fight on, it's actually not worth the fight. And the irritation dissolves. Then I look at it in an unbiased manner to say that, yes, whoever is finding fault with me, usually, always, I am at fault indeed for something or the other that I have, whatever. So then we can move on, at least I can move. Now, usually the other party is still ticked off, but then there's very little I can do about it. But in my mind, I'm back to metta, present moment. So this process helps me to be grounded, helps me to see myself clearly, and helps me to not do things I regret. But having said that, I often get derailed and I say something nasty or mean before I can stop myself. So therefore, I realized that I had to observe more. So you see, Professor Kolitha, that is how I use it to try and get grounded in my peace of mind. So I know it doesn't answer your question, but I'm just saying that sometimes some things you may not need it. Maybe you do because you're from the medical profession. Maybe you are curious. Certainly, that question hasn't arisen in me to find an answer. But I'm sure it is there somewhere in the scriptures.
I think so. Can I just try to tell Kolitha, because Kolitha is, can I, Nadeesha? I don't know whether this is what his answer he wants is.
Please go ahead.
But given the very analytical mind that Kolitha is applying to this, he deserves some, because I think he has been asking this sort of question once before. I can't quite remember, but that time also I remember it ended not with you, but once in the hall on Vesak Day. From Kosala, that's right. Kolitha, I don't know whether you have heard of that simile given of a mango falling near a sleeping man. That is given, I found that although we all run away from Abhidhamma, and I'm not bringing Abhidhamma here, neither do I know it, if you visualize a man sleeping, this came, I understood it very clearly after I read this. I mean, I saw this in a tiny little booklet written long ago by Egerton B. Baptist, was that name, BPS publication. Person is sleeping under a mango tree. Our minds are like that, fast asleep. Apparently, there are 17 thought moments that take place in a jiffy, in a what is called a chittakshanaya, the smallest unit of time that anyone can measure is the mind moment. Now, within that also, there are 17 thought moments or something. Anyway, forgetting that, this man, think of a man sleeping under a mango tree, he was asleep. Now, what is happening in that person's mind? That is supposed to be what is called, there are terms for this. So, but it's my failing, but when I read something, it sticks in my mind. That is called Bhavanga Chitta. So that is the one that we have, that's our baseline Chitta which we were born also, the Bhavanga at the end. Anyway, that's called Bhavanga Chitta. Now, what happened was, there was a rustle of leaves first before that mango falls. There's something rustles. That's supposed to have Bhavanga, the Chalana. The next thought is immediately my thought, there was a little shaking. Next minute, it breaks. That happy state of, like a straight line where you were asleep, it breaks. That's the third movement. That was called Bhavanga Uppacheda, if I remember right. Then, now something opens. The doors open. We had Nadeesha mentioned the 6 doors. 1 or 2 or 3 or up to 6 of them will open. Some maybe the hearing. That's the 4th moment. Then this thing falls. Then you hear this fall. That's that hearing. Then now up to that, no, you can't help it. None of us can help hearing things if things happen. None of us can help seeing things as Then, but karma is going to form if we are not careful, right? Then comes that stage when you realize something fell. That's the sanya. Now the sanya has come. Still we have not made any karma. Still we have not made karma. This sanya coming is misleading us. Sanya is taking us to a wrong road. We think this was a lorry that I am following when I am not really following a lorry now. The lorry has gone or whatever. That thought moment, but at a deep, fine level. Then it comes to, we reach out start examining this mango and saying, it's a ripe one, or it's a rotten one, or a good one to eat. Now that time has what they call, up to those first 5 or so, you have not formed karma. At that point, apparently, that is called Javanasit. Oh, I can't remember. Out of the 17, large number of Javanasit. If you let yourself go there, you are now forming karma. And then it boomerangs, and then you have knowing. Whereas some tirana or something is called when you make a decision on what this is. Before that, if you have let, in this awareness, in this non-judgmental awareness, if you just stopped at not judging what that mango was, if you just thought something happened, that's it, and you just go back to doing nothing, going back to that doing nothing, which is what Nadeesha said, isn't it? You said, because we are not used to doing nothing, we always want to do something. We go back to that bhavaga chitta. Now, if you want to talk in terms, and the terms are useless, but going back to that baseline. So if you revert back without getting embroiled, that's where you will say, don't cling to things, don't get involved in things, because now that goes at a hell of a speed, and now you're gone. Before that, you haven't made karma, right? You haven't made karma, generated any karma. Just having heard things and thought, and that's it. You go back. No, not judged, not judged. So where this happens, whether it's in the eye here or there, I don't know. But it's in the mind. It's in this thought moments. It's mind. So as to where the mind is, pardon my saying this, but really, as far as I know, there is no full location, but yes, it's very closely linked to the brain. But when you use the word chitta, it's very close to yours with emotions and to the heart. So mano word is there. There are about 10 words, and then chitta. So all these things, you can keep on debating. I don't think there has been a place found for this, because there isn't exactly where the mind is yet not located. And the Buddha has said that it is not locatable. I mean, it's a form of energy. So it's not all these 5, actually all 5 are energies, no? These Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, all but are now found to be energies. When you go on looking at them, those chords or something, now scientifically also they are finding that Rupa also is not form. That's also a form of energy at that very fine, minute level. So I don't think we can find that, or it's worth looking for that. But that 17 thought moments we can't just say Abhidhamma and turn our back on it. That is a very valuable bit of teaching. That is, of course, need not be grasped, but for the kind of mind there was. Now, there was a group of monks to whom the Buddha taught, the Sariputta and the ones who were the wisdom, very panya lot. So that's how I can see it, because when we are doing it, we can see that happen. Something happens and you can just let it go at an early stage. Then you're at peace. Then comes this, what various people call it now, Olam De Ananda Hamdru will say, just being. Dhammajiva Hamdru will say, do nothing. Just nikang inne kira ni mang kiwe. He said, mono ekekwa korani annon nikang in. Right? Nikang inne beri kamane nikang in. So do nothing. So it's Nadeesha, I think you also came to that. That's the way you expressed it, didn't you? So don't do anything. So that flat level. I hope I have made it clear, or I hope I haven't confused. That's about the main thing. But I hope Kolitha got half an answer even, though not the full answer he got.
No, thank you, Manouri. That was a very good answer. Actually, only reason for me to raise that question was just curiosity and the differences of opinion I heard from different people. But as far as I am concerned also, I'm not worried about these words. Actually, these different words is what has really confused everything. All what you have to know is like what you mentioned, see what is happening. The moment there is a sense experience, and we are giving a concept to that based on our previous experiences, which is memory. You know, everything, every time now you take that issue on the mango, the moment you eat the mango, you know, you only get a taste. That's all. That's the physicochemical phenomenon. The taste is there, but immediately, without our realizing, we are comparing that taste to a mango we had eaten some time ago, maybe, you know, even 30 years ago. Hey, this is not this sort of taste. That was sweeter than this. Texture was different. What is all this? All these values we are giving based entirely on our previous experiences, our memories, and a comparison. What is the mango that fell from that tree, or the mango that you would have served it if I came to your house? You know, I must go and get a mango from that tree. So it's all a comparison. In that process, as you pointed out, we are creating more and more karma. So if we can stop the thing at the point of experience, you experience the taste and it is just taste, that's it. Drop it there, everything ceases. I think that's what Arhat does. And again, I tend to differ from what you mentioned, that there are no files in the Arhat's brain. I don't think it is quite right. This is my opinion. I'm not perfect, because they also have that. It is just that they don't allow it to go to that stage of, you know, relating it to their memories and giving a concept. They see that experience in its reality. The reality of that experience, whatever it may be, whether it's coming from the eyes, ears, or touch, or anything, is just anitya dukkha. It is impermanent. It just disappears as fast as it comes. We are the ones who give these concepts based on our previous experiences, and in the process, create more and more karma. If you break it at the point of contact, you are not creating any karma. So it's a case of not developing karma for its manifestations at a future point. But the initial stages, it is a manifestation of the karma we have already created. Like what Manouri pointed out, the 17 mind movements of one thought process. The initial ones is the reactive stage. It will happen, whether we like it or not. It's just the karmic experiences or something that happened in the past. But we are control arises in the conditioning from that point onwards. The other parts are that mind moments, the active moments. So if you just let go of it at that stage, not getting attached to what was present, or not developing some anger for something that was unpleasant, we are not creating new karma. So there's no way that anything can manifest out. That's the way I feel. Maybe right.
And I think with experience of it, once you go on, because what is being told to do this is whatever you're doing, as Nadeesha said, kanakota, yanakota, bonakota, yanakota, whatever you're doing, watch that very carefully, be focused on that.
Yes.
Say washing the plates, you're washing the plates. You're seeing the water come along one side and going, and then, you know, you see the whatever happened, changes taking place in the plate. You just watch the water dribble. So now that is all your focus on. But the thing is, when you go on doing that and doing that and doing that, I believe, not that I have reached any great level, but I think that is possible. That mango story I said, that is the thin slicing of time happens now, because you saw how the plate was. A little later it was different. Little now, little by little, the things, how things change. You know how that you know, not over a long period of time. If you remember how this whole thing started, what Nadeesha said, we have seen over a long period of time a person growing old is jarapi dukkha. That is nothing enough for a Buddha to come to tell jarapi dukkha. No, anyone can see jarapi dukkha, vyadi dukkha, right? But finally he goes on saying those are also dukkha. So he has to start somewhere with people. But he ends up with saying what Nadeesha was said today, Panchupadana skandha dukkha. Panchaskandha is not the dukkha. The Panchaskandha alenna gihama dukkha. That's the last time in the dukkha. You know, jati dukkha, jarapi dukkha, vyadi dukkha, marna apiyehi, all those things, piyehi vipayogo dukkha, yam pinchang nalahati tampi dukkha, which sounds to me like yam punchi deyak no labunat dukkai. Nala sankittena සංකිට්ඨේන කියන්නේ මං හිතන හැටියට සංක්ෂිප්තව, කොටින්ම, in summary, in concisely, සංකිට්ඨේන පංච උපාදානස්කන්ධා දුක්ඛ. පංචස්කන්ධේ ඔය පංචස්කන්ධය තමයි උතන වෙන්නේ. අරක රූපය අර වැටුණා අඹ ගෙඩිය රූපේ. රූපෙත් නෙමෙයි ඇත්තට මේක එනර්ජි එකක්. but anyway ඒක පස්සේ එන්නේ. රූපය වැටුණා. රූප වේදනා, you got a feeling, you woke up. සංඥා සංකාර ඔන්නතනින් පස්සේ සංකාරට ගියායින් පස්සේ you had it. Am I right? So ඒක නවත්ත ගන්න පුළුවන් අර පුරුදු වෙච්ච එක්කෙනාට ඕක කොච්චරවත් බල which ධම්මජීව හාමුදුරුවන් calls it thin slicing of time. Thin slicing of time පුරුදුනහම අර ටිකක් ඉස්සරහදී ඕක නවත්ත ගන්න පුළුවන්. Before you're not caught in the rapids just like that. You just know before you get caught in the rapids. That is what the practice has to be. At least that is what my understanding. Sorry, this has gone off now.
No, so Professor Kolitha, you mentioned something very useful. The last part of it, where the paradigm shift happens, right? That is, now we are wired to emotions, and we react based on emotions. Our mind has chitta and mano. So chitta is emotions, and mano, the ability to think rationally, is only existent, at least in this planet, as far as we know, in human beings only, right? The prefrontal cortex. So the rewiring that happens to an enlightened being is the emotional, natural wiring to emotions get rewired to mano, where logically we know there is this anitya, dukkha, anatma. That is a logical thing that we know. It's an emotional reaction that is taking place in the normal process. Now, over a period of time, when we observe this, and a dispassion starts to just arise because of the observation, because of time and time again, when we see that our past memories, which is the stale food, it's referred to as stale food. Past memories are being enjoyed now, right? Past references. So because of that, when we realize that we are clinging to desire and to aversion and causing a lot of agitation to an otherwise, what you call peaceful, stable mind, the Bhavanga mind that Dr. Manouri described, is the real peaceful nirvanic mind. But this mind is getting agitated by all these stimulus. And we get carried away with the stimulus because we are emotional beings. We are emotionally reacting. Now, over a period of time, because we have never looked at this, we are always looking at the stimulus. We are not looking inside in introspection to what is really going on. We are externally caught up with the stimulus, right? And we are looking at the adupadu of the stimulus, what is good in the stimulus, what is bad in the stimulus, the problem in the stimulus, everything that is happening inside, we say it's because of somebody outside, right? Other people are causing these things to happen to me. I am the victim, kind of a thing, right? The moment you start looking inside, you realize that you are doing this to yourself. You are causing this suffering. You are causing this dissatisfaction. You are causing all of these things because you have misunderstood what is really going on. You have misunderstood that this is just a process. This is just a play of light and sound and some taste, some fragrances. This is just a play, an interplay of a few things, some energies, right? And we have misunderstood a lot of things. And then slowly dispassion starts arising when you realize this. The more you watch it, the more you realize what a waste of time and energy this is. And with that dispassion, slowly the wiring starts changing because this emotional wiring is the killer here. It starts to change into that rational wiring, where the starting point is to recognize impermanence, non-self, and the suffering nature of life. And of course, the past memories, you're absolutely right, the memories are there, even in the Rahatan Vasi, the memories are there. But right in the front, overriding all of those, is the fact that this is in the moment. In this moment, when I'm experiencing it, also it has already passed, right? Now another moment has come. By the time I experience that moment, the previous moment has passed. So what you experience is like the stars. When you look at a star, the star could be dead. By the time the light comes to our eye, the original star is probably dead because it took light years for that light to come. So you are seeing something that is not even existent. Similarly, the experiences we are experiencing, because our ability to fathom it is so slow and the speed of change is so fast, most of these experiences, by the time you're experiencing that original experience, is gone now. So it has changed already, right? So when you start realizing it to that level, then you are thinking, what is this pleasure or this dislike? It's not even there. It's already in the past. And I am now getting agitated by it. And then gradually over a period of time, this paradigm shift happens. You get rewired, your brain gets rewired into a logical, rational state of mind, right? And then it becomes very easy because there is no reaction. When you're in a logical state of mind, there is no reaction because there's nothing to react to. Yeah. So that was actually what was happening. But thank you for saying.
Thank you very much, Nadeesha. If I may, I don't want to say anything more, but if I may just say what the way the Buddha said it, I might just see what you're saying and that. Anichavata sankara yada panyaya anichavata sankara. Now, the sankara tamai metana dangerous ekkena. Ekata issalla no problem. Anichavata sankara yada panyaya passati. ප්‍රඥාවෙන් ඒක දැක්කනම් යදා පඤ්ඤාය පස්සති ස්පර්ශ කෙරුවා නම් තත්ති අත්ත නිම්බින්දති දුක්ඛය අර නිබ්බිතාව එනවා නිබ්බිතාව is a dispassionate feeling අත්ත නිම්බින්දති ඒස මග්ගෝ විසුද්ධිය that's the marga to purification. Then he goes on to say sabbe sankara dukkati, same thing, sabbe yada panyaya passati අත්ත නිම්බින්දති දුක්ඛය ඒස මග්ගෝ විසුද්ධිය. Then the next one is anatta. Sabbe dhamma, not sankara. Hema dema. Now, the Dhammanupassana venni. Sabbe dhamma anatta. Sabbe sankara nichati vage. Sabbe dhamma anatta. Yada panyaya passati. Atanimbindati dukke. Esa mago pali button hema mandanne. Each one has their own approach. But the Buddha said that kiva in passa tamai it clicks to place mandanne. යදා පඤ්ඤාය පස්සති ඒක ප්‍රඥාවෙන් දැක්කනම් යදා පඤ්ඤාය අත්ත නිම්බින්දති දුක මේ නිබ්බිතාව කියලා එකක් තියෙනවනේ නිබ්බිතාව කියන්නේ එපා වීමක් dispassionate disillusionment or there is no one English word to give this one Pali word but you know එපා වෙලක් ඕක ඒක දැක්කයින් පස්සේ එපා වෙනවා ඒක දැක්කයින් පස්සේ එපා වෙනවා. There is a message going around viral from yesterday. I let on a lighter note, the UK new Prime Minister's mother-in-law, Suhada Murthy, who was India's first woman engineer to have ever worked in a car company and very, very rich. I am going to put that on the Servants of the Buddha WhatsApp. Lots of you may have already seen it. How she is being questioned as, why is it that you are living such a simple life? You are so rich, you can take a jet plane, this and that. And what she has to say. අන්න ඒක පොඩ්ඩක් කියවන්න. She says, මේ impermanence එක මට තේරුණා. මේ Buddhism වලයි මේක තියෙන්නේ. I came from a background where we were academic people. And we were used to simple lives. And that I continue to live like that. And she mentions this same thing that we have been trying to grapple this whole day with on a very simple, without any of these words in real life for her. She says when she goes to a shop, she feels, she feels like running away from there. She feels doesn't like it. She was never a shopper. And because she has seen what impermanence is. So that is what we are trying to get at. Am I right, Nadeesha? Have you seen that message? I'm going to put it to you.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So, Professor Kolitha, thank you very much. One question triggered a very deep conversation and many questions in the chat as well. So, I thought that was good. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all that. Thanks a lot.
Anything else? Anything else? Or can we now do the Anumodana, and we have to thank Nadeesha and Professor Raja Dialvis for giving of your time and knowledge and all this, and Kolitha, because the discussion is always so very valuable. Thank you for triggering that and asking, and thanks to your monkeys on your roof. Anoja, you do want to say anything, or anybody else has to say anything? Then shall we tell the gathas together? Thank you very much, Nadeesha. It was really a very, very good session. I am really, really pleased. We set it at an odd time, but so many from the UK joined as a result. So that's a great thing. And Samantha, Jayatilaka, do you want to say anything? Samantha is from England. Mr. Lakshman Vehalle. Right. So then we will give the usual stanzas. Ettavatata ammehi sampadam punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatata ammehi sampadam punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavatata ammehi sampadam punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahitika punyam tang anumoditva cirang rakkantu sambuddha sasanam cirang rakkantu buddha desanam cirang rakkantu buddha savakam. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idammo ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Imina puññakammena māme bāla samāgamo sataṁ samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattya. Imina puññakammena māme bāla samāgamo sataṁ samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattya. Imina puññakammena māme bāla samāgamo sataṁ samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattya. Idam me puññakammang asavakkayo vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamujjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very, very much, Nadeesha, and everyone who joined, Professor Kolitha, Anoja, and everyone else. Thank you. I think it was a very, I don't know, I am very happy with the way this Poya, and as the other Poyas also, but today was really brilliant considering the last minute almost arrangements, isn't it, Nadeesha? Thank you very much, Nadeesha. All the very best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. It was a brilliant session. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will then end the meeting.